Cooper, welcome to Nine Leaders. How are you keeping?
I'm great, Andrew. Really good. It's a beautiful afternoon in Brisbane. We just
Fantastic.
had a thunderstorm, but really good.
Well, Joburg is pretty much the same. It's early morning. We just had a thunderstorm too, so we're a bit in the same boat.
Yeah.
So I really do appreciate you coming on. I think when I launched Nine Leaders, it was really just looking at who the people that I'd love to have on a show like this, and your name keeps on coming up. I've obviously known you for about 5 years. You were the global head of human resources in the travel industry. And again, you launched a lot of the projects and processes that I was involved in from a South African context. So it's really, really exciting to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time. You've got your own consultancy, which is very, very exciting. Carole Cooper
Yes.
Consulting. Tell us a little bit about it. What do you focus on? What are your priorities? What do you do?
Yeah. So when I left my previous job, which was, as you said, head of people for Flight Centre Travel Group, I decided that I wanted to make a difference to another organization because I'd been with Flight Centre for over 22 years.
Yeah.
And so that was the reason why I decided to make the change. And then having thought about it, I thought by starting my own company, I'd actually be able to make a difference to many, many different organizations, and got really excited about that opportunity. So I launched CaroleCooperConsulting.com, and essentially I am a plugin for a chief people officer or a chief HR officer for an organization. I'll go in, I'll do a gap analysis of the business, check to see how the people strategy aligns to the business strategy, and then make recommendations on culture, diversity and inclusion, leadership, dysfunctional or highly functional teams, and help them, become a great organization. However, the most important thing for me is that I would like them to use the potential of their people to grow and be profitable.
So your tagline is profit through people with potential. Am I correct in saying that?
Through the potential of your people.
Through the potential of people. I knew I'd messed it up in some way, but we got it right in the end.
Okay.
How important, right now, obviously, through this whole last this period of with COVID, companies have downsized, they've restructured, resized, and obviously from a profit side of things, that's very much high on the agenda, but also that people's aspect. So how do you see, is there a tension between the business side versus actually keeping your people and driving your business forward through your people, or is it just purely profit side of things that is the concern right now?
Well, I think that culture is a big challenge, and because of the change with COVID, companies are seeing that culture is playing a huge role in how they're going to move or take the organization forward.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you need the people who are at the heart of the organization to actually drive that for you. And so if you have a misalignment between your people strategy and your business strategy, you're probably not going to be able to achieve that goal, which is where I come in and, try and help them do that. So I think that companies are realizing, yes, they have to restructure, they want to be leaner, but they also want to use the people that they have, or they need to use the people that they have, need to use the expertise to help drive that growth and profit.
Yeah. I think I think there's pretty much no company that hasn't been affected in some shape or form over the last while. Obviously, with your time with Flight Centre Travel Group as a global head of PeopleWorks, a lot of your projects that you rolled out, like I mentioned earlier, in particular something like Women Wise. What was the driving force behind empowering women in the workplace for you?
So Flight Centre had 75% of the people in the organization were female. Yet when we looked at the stats, as in many companies and organizations, as you looked at the senior leadership levels, those levels were a lot lower than the 75%. So at the sort of the area manager level, it was 50%, and then it got lower. So we did a bit of a survey with people in Australia, the women in Australia, and we asked them why. And we realized that, one, they didn't have the confidence to apply for roles. Two, they felt that they needed to tick every single competency box to actually apply for it.
Yeah.
And three, they felt, particularly those that were married with children or young children, they felt that they couldn't do it because we were not flexible enough. And so we took that data and that information and we started a group. It was very small in 2015, and we grew it by putting in some strategies to help change that. And I'm happy to say that over the 5-year period, we saw some significant growth in women applying for jobs and actually getting them and doing, a brilliant job and doing really, really well in supporting and driving the objectives of the company.
That's awesome. Is it in the broader context and conversation of Australia? And again, having been not removed from Australia, but just seeing in the news over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of talk about parity in the workplace, from both positionally as well as from a remuneration side of things. Is it? Do you think it's isolated to Australia, or is there something that from a global side of things that is something that should be addressed?
Yeah, definitely globally. Are you talking about Flight Centre in particular?
No, just in general in business. I think because again, we're sitting in South Africa with a very similar situation where there's very underrepresentation of genders of females in politics, in business. So yeah, what did you do to get that level of parity or that improvement? What are some of the major driving forces behind it?
So the number one strategy that we implemented was from a recruitment perspective, and this worked really well. I personally am not a big fan of quotas because I believe that the right person has to get the role. And certainly with my experience in South Africa, I think that's probably why I've been very anti-quotas. So what we did was we said that every senior position had to have a 50-50 split male-female applying for the role, and then a 50-50 split in the panel who were interviewing. And so as an example, if the leader, if let's say there was a position and 2 males applied and 1 female applied, it was the incumbent on the leader to go out and find another woman to apply for the role that obviously had, that they thought that had potential to do the job. And what that did was it actually showcased all the skills and attributes that women have. Now, the women didn't necessarily always get the job, but the other part that it did was that it allowed the leader to see the potential of that woman, and then they would know for next time that they need to develop them a little bit more, or perhaps they could put them in a different position to help them achieve their targets and grow their business. So I thought it was a system that was fair. It certainly showcased the potential that we had, and it really helped leaders see the potential and the succession within their business.
So it's really about highlighting individuals that have got that potential, like you spoke about earlier, and giving them the confidence to actually go through the process. Are you concerned?
And I do believe that people have to actually go through the process. I don't believe in shoulder tapping people for a job. So that was a really good part of that structure.
That's awesome. Are you concerned that with all the restructuring that's taken place in companies due to COVID, that momentum will be lost in that space?
I am actually concerned. There's been quite a few articles in recent months that women are leaving the workforce, particularly senior leaders are leaving the workforce as a result of, for numerous reasons, their family, wanting to do their own thing, different reasons. So that is a concern for me, because it means that all the work in getting that balance, inequality within the workplace may have gone to the wayside. However, I am optimistic that once we get through this COVID period, and it will end, that companies will have had the experience and understand the importance of having that balance in their teams and in their executive teams, and so that they will ensure that they bring that back again. But it is a concern, absolutely.
Yeah, it's quite moving on from that with regards from a leadership side of things. As if I'm running my own business and you coming in as a consultant to look at my business post-COVID, what are some of the things that from a lesson side of things that you've taken out of the COVID period that you could perhaps apply to my business in the coming months and coming years?
Yeah. There are probably two areas that I've experienced that I think are quite critical, and it's critical in normal circumstances, but even more critical in a crisis, I suppose. And that the first thing is communication.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's interesting. I did a survey across a number of different countries, and the number one leadership quality that came through on that survey was communication. Yet it is the number one complaint that I've received as a leader about other leaders, that they don't communicate enough.
Yeah.
And so I think that I would definitely be focusing and helping organizations to look at their communication strategy, making sure that they have the structures in place to communicate effectively with their people, because power is knowledge. And I think that people need that sense of security. And when you communicate with them, it gives them that sense of security. And the second thing, which I know is very topical, but that is flexibility. And I think that pre-COVID, there have been many, many companies that have said that, flexibility is not an option in our organization. We cannot do it. We have to be available. We have to work together. And COVID has completely thrown that out the window, and we can see that people can work quite effectively. Having said that, though, I think that organizations will need to rethink how they manage their culture, how they look at their culture from a flexibility perspective of people working from home and not necessarily physically working in teams, but absolutely can be done. And I think that's quite an exciting opportunity for organizations.
Absolutely. Is it a case of, from a leadership side of things, that the basics are the basics? Like you said, the foundation still needs to remain, but moving into this new world, is it a case of we need to redefine leadership, or is it literally about doing what, from a leadership side of things, we've always talked about in the years past, leaders versus managers and that type of thinking, having a very structured environment, your processes and all that. Are we moving into a new world where it's not so much about necessarily process, but or structure, but it's about the job that needs to get done and how it needs to get done, and as a leader, how I lead my people rather than what I do? Is it, do we need to redefine things?
Yeah, I'd say that, in the past, it probably was, the 75% of doing the structure and the process and 25% on the leadership. And maybe that has moved a little bit, because I think that authenticity is quite important as a leader. So looking at the soft skills, there are many, many people that have gone to university that are skilled, that have the ability to do the job. But the soft skills, or the essential skills as we call it today, is going to be more and more critical when leading people. So like the authenticity, like being vulnerable, those qualities that have been, people have just thought, oh, that's just hogwash, and we shouldn't be focusing on that. It makes you weak as a leader. I think those are all coming to the forefront, and that's been a movement for a while. But I'm seeing it more and more in recent times. And I think it is really good, because it means that it brings that balance of leadership to individuals and organizations.
I love the fact that you use the phrase essential skills rather than soft skills. For years and years, for me, it's been a bane of my existence, because again, that perception is it's a soft skill side. It's something we can do on the side. It's not really that important. Whereas now, if you change the context as going, well, these are essential skills to ensure that your organization, your people, your culture is driven forward, which ultimately drives your business. I love that context. I want to take you back. Way back to the beginning. You grew up in South Africa. You were born in South Africa. You've globetrotted. You've been in Canada. You've been in Australia. How does a South African move from South Africa all the way up to a global position? What's some of your secrets? What's your secret sauce? How did that work? Talk us through your story.
Oh, goodness. Well, I have to say that I never in my wildest dreams expected to be sitting, here today, having achieved and experienced what I've experienced. But I think that I probably always have been quite ambitious. And so to me, it was always work hard, play hard, and grab the opportunities when they come along. And so I've been very lucky that I've had a husband, or have a husband, that has been very, very supportive. And so when those opportunities have come along, he's been right alongside with me, and we, we've done it as a family. And I think that my entire life has been about, it's an adventure. And if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, then, go and try something else. And so
Boer
because
maak 'n
that has
plan.
been that has been how I've always felt and, what I've thought, then, I suppose that's why I'm able to sit here today. So I have been very, very lucky, but, it's taken hard work, a lot of blood, sweat and tears, but it's been worth it
Awesome.
every moment.
That's fantastic. So from a future side of things, we've spoken about your consultancy. What's in the future? Is there a book? Is there I don't know, tell me what do you see the future for yourself? And what's the final outcome for you?
Well, actually, there are a couple of books. I've just published a cookbook, something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So it should be ready for launch. I believe it's mid-November, according to the publisher. And then I'm also writing a leadership book, which will probably come out June, July next year. But the cookbook I'm very excited about because that is something I'm passionate about and I can't wait to launch that.
Any South African recipes in there?
Lots of South African recipes.
So it's awesome. What I love about that as well is it's not just about what you're passionate about. It's something that you are incredibly passionate about. You can see it. Your face lights up when you spoke about it. I'm going to have to ask, though, we're going to have to get 2 copies, one of the cookbook and one of the leadership book, so that I can review them next year. And I can give you some feedback on the recipes. I hope there's a bobotie in there. I really do hope there's a bobotie also.
Bobotie's in there. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay,
you will absolutely get a copy.
I really do appreciate it. It's been great catching up with you and seeing you. Good luck with everything with the consultancy. I will be putting your link down in the description so people can go look at your webpage, get in contact with you. But it's been really great seeing you. Hopefully I'll get to see you soon sometime when you're back in South Africa or when I'm in Australia. But all the best for the future. And really, thanks so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Take care.